Time to cancel the Cabal. With Stephen Roberts. On peoplesinternetradio.com.
All right, and welcome everyone to another Wednesday evening here on peoplesinternetradio.com. And I'm also on PSN Radio, thanks to Angela Spino down in Miami. I have a very special guest on tonight. I have the Queen of Darkness. I don't know if anybody in the EU knows who that is, but I have Tressa Graves on. And I also have a very good friend of hers, Phillip Assenmacher. I want to welcome you to People's Internet Radio, Queen of Darkness. Thank you. Hi, Tressa.
Hi.
Hi, Phillip.
Hello, Stephen.
How is everybody tonight?
Oh, wonderful, wonderful! What a night.
Yeah, we're going to get into the scary creepies and crawlies tonight, aren't we?
I hope so.
That's a definite.
For everybody who does not know who my guest is, she's an author of just everything that is supposed to scare, or everything that does scare people all around the world. Scary novels and scary things. We are going to talk about at least one particular book tonight, right, Tressa?
Yeah, well, I actually have three I'm wanting to talk about, but I've got a new book that we've been advertising a lot called Captain Creepy's Book of Short Stories, and I'm working with four of the writers on this, and we've been doing book trailers and releasing those. I think it's been 2 book trailers a week now, and I've been getting a big response to that. And it's a story it's based off a character, a friend of mine, Stephen Island, out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. He came to me, and he's got a show of his own called Captain Creepy's House of Shame. And he came to me and asked him if I wanted to get together with him and do a story. And all he was going to give the writers was 5 little facts about Captain Creepy, and each writer had to come up with their own version of Captain Creepy. And that's how the project got started. And it's been 2 years in the making.
I guess one of the first questions I should ask you, Tressa, is what made you get into this type of genre of writing?
Ever since I was little, I liked horror. I grew up on Abbott and Costello, and I was always attracted to them. But I'm kind of weird, too, because at the same time, I was attracted to, like, Gomer Pyle. So it's kind of odd. And I had a lot of nightmares growing up, and it was just something I've always been used to. And I guess I kind of find comfort in it, making stuff up, making my nightmares come to life, and scaring other people's always good.
Yeah. Did you do you have a lot of humor in your novel? In your novels?
There might be a little bit of humor, but I try and keep my stuff more on a serious level. It's like a lot of my writings could be based off true crime. Even though I've done story of witches and stuff, most of it's based off real-life people who go out and actually commit crimes. Like the Sawgrass Footpath, that story takes place in Tampa, because that's where I grew up at. I'm from there. And I took it from things that actually happened in the Tampa area. Tourists going to the area, they were finding, them dead at rest stops and stuff. And the road I wrote it about, if you talk to anyone from Tampa and they know the road and they find out I did a book based off that road, they're like, oh, because it's just a spooky road, and the locals around there know that. And so a lot of it's based off real people who do real life crimes and stuff.
Yeah, remind me, didn't those murders take place like from the late 70s until the middle of the 90s or something like that? Or
yeah, and that's why the state of Florida actually had, for the longest time, they put up security cameras, I think, at rest areas, and now there's guards out there that stand outside those rest areas because of that, because it hit Florida pretty hard when all that happened.
Yeah, Florida being just a huge tourist state.
Oh, yeah, and it hurt them economically, too, when all this was happening, because people were scared to go to Florida.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I took it, and what's so good about this story is I grew up in Temple Terrace, and it's not far where the story takes place off Morris Bridge Road from where I grew up at. And going out there as a kid, I hated it. It was all woods. It was scary. And I remember going out there. We had family that lived out there, and it was just horrifying, even as a little girl, the stuff that was going through my head growing up. And I finally just took it and put it down on paper.
Well, that's just interesting. The first chat we had, Tressa, I happened to mention Cassandra Peterson. What was her? What's her nickname? I can't. A Mistress of the Dark, wasn't it?
Mistress of the Dark.
Yeah,
Yep, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
Elvira, yeah. I remember her from, I don't know, it seems like the mid to late 70s now.
Oh yeah, she's been around for a while. She's an icon in the horror industry, no doubt.
Did she did she happen to influence you in any way?
Well, I didn't learn about Elvira until maybe late 80s or so. Growing up, which is weird again because the person who influenced me the most would be Dolly Parton. And that's kind of odd because of what I do. But if you listen to a lot of Dolly's songs, I used to listen to her growing up. Her music is very dark. And I think that's what attracted me to her, was the dark music. It's always about a kid dying, a witch, or a murder, a suicide, or something. And following her career, seeing what she did in her life, and that's all. You know, she was my friend growing up. I was the lone child. I had no friends really in school. And I spent all my time with Dolly listening to all these dark songs, following her career and seeing she did it. Why can't I?
Yeah, absolutely.
So...
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Phil.
When Tressa writes a story, from the first page you're on your toes and you never come off. It's I've been told, and I've told people, it's like you're on the edge of a knife, and it just gets scarier from there. I mean, the first part of her story, the Sawgrass Footpath, is about a murder, and that's the first best thing that happened to this couple, because it got worse and worse and worse from there. It just never drops off. There's no high, low, high, low. It's just one continuous thing after another.
Okay. Well, Phillip, I want to ask you a question right off the bat too. Although you were friends with Tressa, what do you actually contribute to her novels or her works?
We bounce off ideas. I actually made an audiobook for one of her short stories, and used my son with that. Me and Tressa have mutual friends in Michigan. In mid-Michigan, there's a TV show called Creep Theater that I've been filming for 12 years and putting together and editing everything. And when I started talking to Tressa, I thought, boy, these novels, they got to be turned into audiobooks. They're scary to read, but sometimes to hear them, it'd be just like sitting around a campfire.
Well, that's pretty wild. You actually have a relative that did some work for Tressa too, didn't you? Or don't you?
Yes, I actually got my son Justin, who's I'm very proud of. He's a child with Asperger's, and he has a very, very deep voice. And we had 5 people read through Tressa's book, and as soon as Tressa heard Justin's, she said, he's got to do it.
Yeah, I think that's, I don't know if that's part of the reason why I've had people tell me that I need to do voiceover stuff too.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
That's why you're on radio, Stephen. You got a good...
Yeah, I got a good radio face too.
True.
What do are most of your novels set down in the South of America?
Yeah, I'm pretty certain all of them are in the state of Florida. It's like my Captain Creepy story that's coming out. That takes place from a man who grew up in Wisconsin, and he ended up moving down to Florida, and it takes place in Ocala, Florida. And Lady in the Backyard takes place in Tampa, as well as the Sawgrass Footpath.
Ah, well, I've got a listener.
I guess I write in Florida. I'm very familiar with the area, and the swamp where I grew up at, that's creepy enough. And once you go to Ocala National Forest and all that, you've got a story right there. Just in the setting.
Yeah, there's plenty of places down there in Florida to hide a body if one wants to.
Yeah, and you don't really have to hide it because there's so much wildlife down there. It kind of take care of it for you. Gators and all the stuff we got down there. Gators and
the big snakes. Yeah.
Yes, big snakes. Huge snakes.
What was your first novel, Tressa?
My first novel was a story called Woodkillers, and that came out I think it came out around 2001. And I was really not knowing what I was doing when I got into the business. I thought, I'll just put together this story and just get a publisher, print on demand to do it. And that was a nightmare. The whole story wasn't published. Everything about it went wrong. So I ended up pulling that book. And so that was like a learning experience, even though it was a first story. And then I would say to bring my career back was the Sawgrass Footpath. And that story I'm very, very proud of. And that was actually how me and Phil met. He got a hold of me because he had saw, me doing stuff with the book and everything. And, he's the one who brought me up to Michigan to do my first Halloween book tour up there. So Phil's the one who got me from the South and go up north and try something different.
Well, Tressa, I think I mentioned to you a week or so back, you are on a predominantly European network here on People's Internet Radio, but there is one new listener. He's over there from the United Kingdom, Paul 1168. Let me see. He asks, "Are you signed into the chat? Were you able to get signed into it and monitor the chat?"
I did not.
Okay, well, I think he made a comment of Creep Theater. Sounds like his kind of place.
Oh yeah, we have fans of Creep Theater in over 20 countries. We have over 500 fans because you can see the episodes on the web.
Oh, okay, very good. You put them up on YouTube, Phillip?
Yes, we put them up on my YouTube site, and we have a Facebook account where we talk about what each episode is going to be about. And it's really funny. I was applying for a job, and a person in HR in California said, "Creep Theater, like my grandchild watches that on the web all the time." So a person from California knew what show I was filming before I even got a job with them.
Yeah. Well, I can honestly tell you that I used to watch what was called the Creature Feature Hour back in the late 60s and early 70s. I don't know if either of you two recall that show.
Sounds really familiar, yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up with Dr. Paul Bearer down in Tampa. He was an icon down there. He was our Elvira. He was,
yes,
he
was.
He was a big guy from Creature Feature.
Yeah.
And another thing, when I was little, I used to watch these horror shows, Creature Feature. It never fazed me. It was, it brought comfort. I liked it.
Yeah. Well, Tressa, I'm already getting questions from the chat room, and it's good. They can keep them coming as long as I can keep up with them. But Declan,
I should have signed in.
Declan would like to know, who is your greatest literary influence?
That would be Stephen King. I love reading his stuff. His imagination is a lot like mine. And I read Stephen King's On Writing, and there was a movie that I watched when I was little again. I couldn't remember the name of it. But when I picked up Stephen King's On Writing, he was talking about a story as a movie as a child that really scared him. And he talked about a man's eyes getting gouged out. I don't remember what it was from. And it was The Lady in the Cage. And I don't remember the main actors that was in that, but that affected Stephen King as it did me. So I've always been attracted to him because I think mine and his writing is a lot alike with some of the stuff we do. So it would definitely be Stephen King.
Yeah, and Paul also made the comment of maybe there was a show called The Hammer House of Horrors.
I don't recall Hammer House of Horrors. Where would it be at? Is it?
It could have been it could have been a United Kingdom show,
Oh, okay.
a UK show, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't recall that one.
Well, I can honestly say that I don't either. I haven't really seen a lot of Stephen King's movies. I don't know. I think what was it? The one about the car, Christine? Is that what it was?
Yep.
I think that might have been the first one I seen.
Yeah.
I know he's had a lot of his novels made into movies, but I've only seen, I don't know. Well, Cujo was one I seen. That one kind of scared the bejesus out of me.
I actually like his books better than his movies. I like to read the books before the movies come out because a lot of times the movies can't compete with what he does in his writing, the imagination you use whenever you're, reading through his books.
Okay. I am going to pass something in the Skype chat for you to look at, and Declan made this comment, but I'm not sure what it means. Maybe you can make heads or tails of it. You can open up your Skype chat there, and I'll let you look at that. I'm not sure if there's supposed to be a space in between one of those words or not, but
Yeah, I don't know what that means. All I know is thank you, Tressa.
yeah.
So it must be good.
Salvador Dali, I see that in there, but anyways, I don't know. Let's get into the three books that you're going to talk about.
Well, like I said, the Sawgrass Footpath was one, and that's one of my favorite stories that I did, and I got out and got all over the place. I went to Michigan, I went to Kentucky, Tennessee, and Florida to do book signings on these. I had Bud Light following me around. They made banners and stuff for me when I went out. I had the Bud Light girls show up a couple times, and then I went to Dick's Last Resort. I went to the one in Gatlinburg and the one down in Orlando. So they really, I've had a blast with the Sawgrass Footpath. And everyone's wanting a sequel. I told them I'm working on it, but my schedule's been so hectic, I haven't been able to really get on that like I should have. And then the second one would be Lady in the Backyard, which that is a short story. I don't sell it in book format because it is a short story. So what I do is I sell the audiobook, and then I'll give the ebook when people buy the audiobook. I think it's something like 48 minutes long. Phil probably knows a little bit about
something like that.
Yeah, and that. So I haven't really been out promoting that one that much because it is an audiobook. I'm planning on getting back out on the road with this Captain Creepy's book of short stories. And like I said, with these other 4 writers that I have working with me, I want to try and get something together with them so we can get out and maybe do a few book signings around the area. I want to definitely go down to Albuquerque where Steve Island is and be a guest on his show because Captain Creepy's, House of Shame and stuff.
Is that a TV show?
It's a internet-based show, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Steve Island, he's got a pretty big IMDb. He's played in a lot of different movies. He's played with Jackie Chan. He's played in Breaking Bad. And he's got an impressive IMDb under him. He's a great actor. I've watched some of the series of the shows he's done, which we'll be releasing more of that. I've got 2 book trailers left to release. Tomorrow I will be releasing Sean Davis, his book trailer. And Sean is the author of Diary of a Serial Killer. And he actually sent me his book, and I usually don't have much time to take out to read, but when Sean sent me his book, I was stuck on it. It's a really good book. It's based off he based it off Ted Bundy. And
yeah,
and this gets into a mindset that scares me, and that's not easy to do.
Well, I heard something very, very interesting. It wasn't very long ago, just a couple of months back, Tressa. One really wants to think about it. All of I would say most, if not the vast majority of the the most prominent serial killers around the world in the last, I don't know, century or so, 100 plus years. Their victims went with them willingly.
Yeah.
They didn't so-called kidnap somebody or abduct them or anything.
Yeah.
John Wayne Gacy over there in the Chicago area. You just happened to mention the other one, and Ted Bundy, and I mean some of the most prominent ones, even over in Europe, they didn't really abduct their victims. Who was the one up there in Milwaukee? Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer. Yeah, they all went into his house to have sex with him, and that's where they met their demise. Ted Bundy took all of the women into his car. I mean, they all went into his car.
Yeah. Well, that's what people don't realize about serial killers too, is they are very conniving. They can make you believe whatever they want you to believe. They're always the well-dressed. They look like the professional type, which people's trust goes down when they see something like that. But if someone sees, a biker going down the road and you stop, someone's alert goes up just because the way they're dressed or the way they look. And most serial killers, they are very they're very stylish.
Well, yeah. Well, they don't have a look. That's the thing about it.
Yeah. Business suits, well educated, and it's like Ted Bundy. He was going to be a lawyer.
Yeah,
he was very intelligent. That's how come he was able to escape so long too.
Yes, I remember.
He broke out of jail.
Yeah, I remember the final judge that he happened to come in contact with him told him he was a very, very astute, smart man, and he should have been a lawyer instead of the things he was doing.
Yeah, yeah. Even Ted Bundy even made the judge fall for him, so to speak, because of his personality.
Yeah.
And I mean, even at the trials, Ted Bundy had women. His fan club was sitting out in the courtroom, cheering for him, wanting him to get off, even though they had all these evidence against him because the way he looked, they couldn't believe it.
Absolutely, yeah. It just goes to show that, you can't stereotype someone.
No. Definitely not. And that's why I like writing about real horror, because that is what's scary, is real human behavior and stuff. And that's what I like to go for in the books. And as far, everything I've written so far and published other than Lady in the Backyard has been, even my Captain Creepy's based off basically a serial killer, Dylan, who, the name Captain Creepy's Candy Van, that, will tell a lot of people maybe what's going on here a little bit. I mean, how many times does the ice cream truck go by and you get chill bumps? So it's just spooky. The music playing and, all the little kiddies running out to the ice cream truck, and that's kind of what Captain Creepy does in my story. Except he's a candy van, and he goes and parks outside schools.
Oh, so he takes children?
Yes, he takes children, and he's very well liked in Ocala, Florida. He teaches Sunday school. The parents love him. They trust him with the kids. So it's another deceiving person working their, what they're good at.
Yeah, yeah. And it's always the friends and neighbors and the relatives that come out afterwards and say, we would have never believed it was him or her, because they just never acted like a serial killer is supposed to act.
Yeah, it's same thing with John Wayne Gacy. You brought him up earlier, and he would dress up as a clown and go to birthday parties.
He did, yeah.
And here comes, John Wayne Gacy, this big serial killer showing up at birthday parties. No one suspected him.
Yeah, yeah. I believe he was caught when I was a teenager, or maybe in my early 20s or something like that. I remember that case well. It was, it was a startle. I'm just 2 hours away from Chicago, so I would hear about that kind of news a lot.
Well, and what's weird is me and Sean Davis. I'm working with James Gilks from Serial Killer Calendar. James is actually doing an interview with Sean. I asked James if he wanted to do an interview with Sean for the Captain Creepy, and we are going back to work with James Gilks. I had told him about a year ago that I wanted to do a true crime novel for James for his magazine. And me and Sean Davis now, we've come up with working with the Chicago Rippers, which were out of Illinois, Chicago area, and they were cannibalistic. And one of the guys, Robin Getch, he's still in prison. He'll never get out, but he worked for John Wayne Gacy.
Oh goodness, as a sidekick or something like that, or?
Yeah, he did side work for him because Gacy would go around and hire young boys to do, I think it was a construction type stuff he did. I don't know if Phil remembers.
Right.
And yeah, so Robin Getch, he actually went to work for John Wayne Gacy.
Well, I've just got one more question, and then we can get into the meat of the book, or the first book. The first book that we're going to talk about, I guess. Do you obviously must know the American television show called Criminal Minds, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you think there's a little bit of well, I know that there's a lot of their episodes have kind of spun off of some of the most prominent serial killers. Or at least they kind of resemble the serial killings anyways. Do you think that's on purpose, or do you think it's just by accident? Or
I think it's probably a little bit on purpose.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the more real you bring into it, the more people are interested, the more, resembles maybe another story or something that they read in the paper.
Yeah.
They get into it, and it brings out that fear, I think, a little more of what can really happen. I was at a book signing one time, and a gentleman came up to me, and he says, "Oh, man, the only thing that scares me is real people doing, killings and stuff." I said, "Then this book's for you." Because that's what the Sawgrass is.
Yeah. I've often thought for quite a few years now, because, well, that show's been on like, I don't know, it seems like 11 or 12 years, or at least 10 or something like that. But, they've got like 20 plus episodes per year. And I was thinking, geez, just how many serial killers are they going to let the American public think that there is in the world? There's, well, according to them, they've had probably at least 200 plus episodes. That's like 200 plus serial killers out there.
Yeah. Well, there's about that many. I mean, I sit and I do a lot of research. I always have on serial killers, and I download episodes of bios on these serial killers. And people think I'm crazy because at night I'll have it on my laptop and I'll go to sleep watching this stuff.
Yeah.
Watching the interviews and police evidence and everything. So. Yeah.
Are there that many alleged killers out there?
I think they say in the U.S., as of right now, there's something like maybe 40 or 50 active serial killers.
That many unsolved cases?
Yeah, and active serial killers right now. So the chances that you probably walk by a serial killer may be pretty high.
Well, also, allegedly here in America, I think it's like 1 in every 4 men is either gay or bisexual, and I don't know. I don't know. It's just a little silly thing there, but anyways, let's get into the first book you want to talk about. Let's get into the meat of it.
Well, the Sawgrass, it takes place. Doctor is in Virginia, and his family's murdered, like Phil said, and to get away from the circus that became of his parents' murders, he decides to pack up and move to Tampa. And him and his wife leave. He takes over another doctor's office down in Tampa, and whenever he gets down there, things go from bad to worse for him. They buy the house out on Morrisbridge Road, and the real estate agent didn't tell them everything about the house that had happened, and they end up moving in a house that another family had been brutally murdered in.
Wow.
We'll just say still active serial killers.
Yeah.
But the Sawgrass does have true crime. It has a little bit of ghost in it. It's, there's a few ghosts that pop up in it. It deals with dungeons. And so it's got a little bit of everything in this story. It's something for everyone.
Yeah.
They want to check it out. And the first chapter's up on my website at tressagraves.com. They can go in and read the first chapter.
Yeah, that just brought up an interesting question. I thought of. Have you studied a lot of these killers, a lot of these killings?
Oh yeah, that's like a hobby of mine. That's what I want to eventually get into, is a true crime. I was talking to Phil about this. I want to eventually go to prisons and interview these serial killers and do stories on them. So that's my passion right there, is to be able to go in and do that.
Yeah. Do you think you'll have to get into the study of psychology to eventually do that, or do you think are you just going to go in and wing it, or?
Yeah, I think I can.
Yeah.
I think I can. Yeah, I've done my whole life. Like I said, I've read up on serial killers and watched. I've done a lot of research myself, and I think going in, talking to them, and basically what I want to do is I want to go in, I want to talk to them, and I want to get their side of the story. And I want to write the book in the eye of the serial killer, is basically what I want to do. I want to tell his story, what he went through, why he did what he did in life.
Yeah. Are you going to change the names?
I don't know yet. I guess that would be up to the person I was talking to, whether or not they would want me to use their real name or not.
Yeah. Have you thought about going in and maybe studying one of these killers for a biography on them, or just to get their story?
Yeah, and that's basically what I want to do when I go in to interview them and do my story. That's basically what my book will be about. It's going to be about them, and I just want them to tell me their life, why they turned to do what they did, and just get their side of it. And I think going in and getting the side of these serial killers might help people a little more understand and put a little more awareness out for people, especially young women. They can sit and look at this stuff and see stuff like Ted Bundy and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And just make, people aware of what's going on and what these guys are really thinking.
Well, that is a little interesting to me too. I don't have any psychological background or psychological studies, but I do like to dabble in it as an amateur and try to figure these things out too.
I think this will pique a lot of people's interest. I've had people come up to me and say that they do like my writing because of it being real, and being based off real life. So I think once I do this, I think it's going to go over pretty well, because I think people are going to be interested in what these guys have to say. Whether they like it or not, they're going to want to see what they had to say.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. That's something I really want to do.
Yeah. In your study so far, what kind of a conclusion have you come up with on some of the reasons why these people do this?
Well, and I put that in my Captain Creepy candy van story. A lot of these guys grew up with they were either beaten, mistreated, had problems with their mother, or had problems with their father, and religion. A lot of them grew up in a religious family, strict family, and living in a lot of this stuff. And, a lot of these people were beaten, were talked down to. I think John Wayne Gacy, he was one of them where his dad would talk bad about him. Nothing John Wayne Gacy ever did was good enough for his dad. And then it's like with Ted Bundy, he grew up thinking his grandparents were his mom and dad, and his mom was his sister. You know, he grew up thinking his mother was his sister. So it all goes back to, I think, you know, the way these guys were raised. And, you know, a lot of people tell me, oh, well, you're just making an excuse for these guys. And that's where people don't want to learn. They don't want to really get into why these guys do what they do. And I think if people open up and learn their side, they can understand them a little better.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from there, but, you know, I do have a devil's advocate argument, and I use this quite often on shows when a similar subject comes up. You know, for the most part, for the vast majority of people around the world, people do know the difference between right and wrong, and for the most part, we are taught the difference between right and wrong. Do you think a lot of people make choices? I do understand abuse, both physical, emotional, and, well, let's even go with sexual. You know, I don't really know, like I said, to be the devil's advocate, if turning to doing something bad is a really valid excuse for your own bad treatment.
Right. Yeah, and I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying that this is, I mean, these people think different than what me and you would think. You know, if something bad happened to us, doesn't mean we're going to go out and be serial killers and stuff. But, you know, it may be mental. These people maybe needed to get some help and never did. You know, and I don't give them an excuse for what they did. All I'm saying is if people sat down and maybe studied these guys a little bit more, maybe they'd learn, you know, more about why they do what they do.
Yeah, understood. I understand. I think, well, I can only speak for myself. I'm not going to criticize people. You know, they can, I believe, you know, people should do what they like to do, but you know, if you're harming someone, that's where the line needs to be drawn.
Oh yeah, and I agree with that. And you know, and you know, people can get upset if I go in and talk to these serial killers or whatever. But the point is, they're never getting out, so it doesn't matter whether I go in and talk to them or not. All I want to do is try and get their side and maybe educate people a little more. You know, like us sitting here talking about Ted Bundy and stuff, you know, a lot of these guys, their victims go with them willingly. They're conniving.
They do.
You know, and maybe if some young girl sees, you know, what a Ted Bundy really looks like, maybe she won't be so quick because he's cute and, you know, he's sweet-talking her to get in the car with him as quick as she would normally.
Yeah, I think one of his biggest tricks was he had a fake cast around his arm, and he was always trying to put something into his car.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he would ask girls to... It was weird because he would ask women to help him whenever he had problems with jumps or, you know, like jumping off his car, helping him move something, and there would be men there. And Bundy would always go for the female, ask them to help him. Men standing right by him. So... I'm just the type of person, I'm always cautious. I'm always looking around. I always know what's going on around me. And I think that's because I've done so much reading on serial killers and stuff. My guard's always up.
Yeah.
And that's what I hope that maybe what I do with these books, these, you know, going into these prisons, maybe that'll do for somebody else. They'll sit back and think about it.
Absolutely. Well, you know, I can't speak for Bundy because I never got to speak to him, and not that I ever wanted to, but I'm not even sure if he was, you know, bisexual or homosexual or what. He may have just went after the women because he was heterosexual and because he could he thought he could overpower them.
Yeah, and I think Ted Bundy, I'm not sure, Sean Davis should be here. He'd be able to tell you more about that.
Yeah.
But I think Bundy had a thing where he almost hated women because of maybe what he went through growing up, thinking, someone was his mom that wasn't, and, being abused or whatever. So he grew up not having respect for women, which sometimes goes back to religion.
Is that what the deal was? Yeah.
They don't have respect for their wives or daughters or anything. So, you have your son growing up in that, they're going to grow up not having respect for women either.
Yeah. Is that what the deal was with him? With
Bundy?
Yeah.
I think that had a little bit to do with Ted Bundy. Yeah. I'm not saying it's all of it, but Ted Bundy, he would go kill women and he'd go back and visit the bodies even. He'd put makeup on them, and he had an obsession with women, no doubt. Huh. And I got, any serial killers, don't go to the state of Florida, because if you go there and you get caught, you ain't leaving unless you're leaving in a body bag down there.
Something about the heat down there?
Huh?
Something about the heat?
No, the state of Florida, once they get you, they're not going to let you go. And Ted Bundy found that out when he went down there.
Yeah. Well, that's what I meant. Is it something about the heat down there, or?
It may be. Heat and gators.
Well, I imagine it's quite a bit like Texas, too. They don't want to let you go down there either.
Oh, no, they don't. They don't. I actually lived in Texas for a while. I lived down in the Markham Bay City area when I was, I guess I was about maybe 12 or so, and I really didn't like it. It was hot, and when I was driving down the road and all I saw were tumbleweeds going across, I was like, no, I'd rather be in Florida where I got the swamp and gators and palm trees.
Well, I do have to tell you, Tressa, that your co-host has been typing in the chat here the past few minutes. He's on my live stream, putting all kinds of comments in there. One of them happens to be, Tressa knows that psychopaths lie to suit their needs.
Yeah, they do.
Explain some more of that.
Well, as far as the lying is all a part of the game. Basically everything they say, it's kind of like with Ted Bundy. We go back to him. He walked around in a cast. He lied and did what he had to do to get pity and to get attention.
Yeah.
People to give him attention, and that's basically what he did. Lie, do whatever you got to do to accomplish your mission. And his mission was to go out and grab women.
Yeah. Well, I just also, thought about myself. You are dealing with the psychopathic killers, psychopathic mass murderers, but the other psychopathic liars are in, well, let's face it, government and corporate industry. There really is a correlation of some sorts.
Yeah. Well, I think the government's really no different than a serial killer. Do what they say they're going to do.
I didn't know if you wanted to go down that rabbit hole or not, Tressa, but
I'll find it. I'll say what I'm thinking. I just
yeah,
have to warn you about that.
I do too. I don't have a producer telling me what to and what not to say. So this is my show. I'm running it. But anyways, what does the psychopathic killer in your book? What does he lie about? What does he? What kind of deceptions does he give out?
Well, like I said, he's a member of the local church in the town he lives in. He teaches Bible study, and a lot like John Wayne Gacy, he's trusted with the neighborhood kids and stuff. He can go in and take any one of the neighbors' kids out for a drive, and they'll let him do it. They're actually glad to have Captain Creepy show up and, take their kid out. And Dylan hides behind religion a little bit in the story because he grew up with a mother that was a fanatic when it comes to religion. I mean, she the abuse in this story, you can, ask Phil. This story's pretty to the point, and probably should have a rating on it. This is the first story I've done outright that has been so true to something I want to do. So.
Yeah. Well, there is another question coming in out of the radio chat room. How many books do you work on at one time? Do you just work on one book, or do you work on more than one? Or
at one point, I was working on more than one, and I was getting confused. So now I try to just work on one project at a time. That's why the Captain Creepy took me 2 years to finally get everything going. I'm like the head project manager on this. I'm the one who hires and fires, and I've been through 2 writers. The 4 that I have now, I'm really happy with, and I don't know I'll be taking on another project like this again, because I have to be the bad one that says, get off Facebook and get to work.
Uh-huh.
Or you're fired.
So you have ghostwriters?
No,
Oh, okay.
You mean as far as my writing goes?
Yeah.
No, everything I write, the Captain Creepy book of short stories, that's got 4 other authors in it.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so my story is just one of the, I'm looking over here, Phil's typing stuff out to be here. I can't do that. That's why I only work on one story at a time.
What is this about a movie that Phillip is mentioning?
You got another movie to do. I have to ask Phil, I'm lost.
Have you ever been approached by doing any kind of stuff on movies or television or anything like that? Or
I've been approached by 2 studios. I won't say their names, but for the Sawgrass Footpath. And I didn't know if Philly wanted me to say anything about that.
Well, okay, maybe we shouldn't then.
He's sitting here typing to me.
That's okay. He actually has another comment in my video chat. You get both abuse and mental illness, and someone gets an eye poked out. I'm not sure what that means.
Oh, is that something Phil said?
Yeah.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Yeah, it's really... now, Phil's talking about Captain Creepy, right?
Yeah. Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, we don't want to give too much away, though. But in that, yeah, this is a story that deals with mental. It deals with game playing and mind playing. And when I first started this story, I was telling everyone, I don't think I can do this. That's why it took me 2 years to get it done. And I'm gonna say this, but the way I got to finish this Captain Creepy story was, don't ask me why, I got on an Air Supply kick. And I was playing Air Supply's greatest hits. And I was sitting there, and I always tell my characters, I told like Dylan, I'm like, okay, tell me what you want me to do in this book.
You mean the old 70s band Air Supply?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I put Dolly away to listen to Air Supply for a while. And I was listening to them, the meanings in their song and stuff, to know how Dylan felt in my story about Miss Rachel, which is one of the main characters in Captain Creepy's Candy Band. She's a reporter which goes to a prison to interview Dylan on the murders that he's done of the children. And that's a little bit of me in that book, because I told you that's what I want to do. I want to go around to prisons and interview people, and that's what she goes by Miss Rachel in the book, and that's what she does in this. And she quickly finds out the mind games that a killer can do once she gets in the room with them alone.
You know what? Being friends with Tressa is really interesting, because you catch glimpses of what she's thinking, stuff that she'll put into a book later on, and like this for this Captain Creepy, I've been hearing bits and pieces of her. She'd say, "Phil, I got this idea," and she'll say something about it, and then a year later she'll remember it and say it again, and then a year after that she'll put it in the book. So you're reading the book, and if you're real close friends with her, you've heard little bits of this all through the book, and you know what's going on, but the characteristic that Tressa has is the ending will always screw you up really bad. Her endings never, me and my wife always can see a TV ending, what's going to happen, who's the killer, about good 20 minutes into the show. We know everything that's going on. Not a single time have we been able to figure out what was going to end with Tressa. Her endings are legendary.
Yeah, a lot like the Stephen King novels then, right?
Oh, it's she just amps it up and then hits you out of left field. It's like getting hit with a bat in the back of the head. You don't know where it came from.
And I think that's what I did with the Captain Creepy story. Like I said, I'm really proud of this story that I did because I took a whole turn I've never done before in anything. And this was a new avenue for me. And it turned out really, I have to say, I'm very proud of what I did in the Captain Creepy's Candy Van. And as soon as I was done, the first person I sent it to was Phil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, I want your opinion on this. And Phil told me, he says, I think you aced it with this. He says, I think this is your best work.
Yeah.
I think you've already answered this question, but, well, Patrick in the chat there says, or asked, did these serial killers have abuse in their younger years? And I think you said,
oh yeah,
some of them have, but I had a follow up on that, maybe a little bit of a variation on that, Tressa. Do you have statistics on what kind of a percentage might have had, and maybe a certain percentage did or a certain percentage didn't, or?
I would say almost every serial killer that you look at and hear them talk, there was something in their childhood that made them do what they did. The only one I can think of that might be a little different would be Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. And they said, what I've heard with him was his mom worked in some sort of factory. I don't have all this on top of my head right now, but they said that Richard Ramirez, his mother, when she was breathing in these toxins, made something in him with his brain not think right. But Richard Ramirez also had, it was either an uncle or something that was in the Vietnam War. And Richard Ramirez, as a little child, 10 so years old, his brother or uncle came back telling him about the things that he did over there, torturing people and murdering people and stuff. So Richard Ramirez, hearing this as a child, I think he kind of thought, well, maybe there is nothing wrong with doing, what he did once he got older, because that was something he was basically told as a child, and no one ever told him it was wrong. Which I'm not saying that's an excuse for
really?
what he did, but that's some of the story behind Richard Ramirez.
Did he grow up from a prominent family?
He actually did, yeah, with the exception of it was either his uncle or it was a family member. I don't remember exactly, but his mom and dad, yeah, they were loving parents to him, which makes him a little unique.
That's odd. I recall probably, I don't know, between 18 months and 2 years ago now, there was a young man somewhere here in America, I think out west. His family was very, very rich, and he was like 16 or 17 years old, and I don't know what he did, but he had some kind of a sort of a car accident and ran into a crowd of people and killed 3 or 4 or a quite astonishing amount of people he killed from this accident, and his lawyer actually got him off, and the defense was that he grew up in an affluent family, and he was never really taught that what he did was wrong.
Yeah. Well, and I'll go out on a stretch. I don't know how many people listen to Dolly Parton out there, but she did a song called "What Will Baby Be?" And in that song, she talks about the baby's going to be what baby is taught. And if the baby grows up around cussing, the baby's going to cuss when they get old.
Absolutely.
And violence, the baby's probably going to, because kids learn from what their parents teach them and what they grow up around.
Yeah, the chances are very, very great that they are going to become what they've been taught, yeah.
So I think that I'm not saying it's an excuse, but I'm saying that does have something to do with it, and people should know right from wrong. Not everyone does, but some people can't. That's why I think some of these people, maybe if they'd have went to a psychiatrist, maybe got some medication or whatever to help them, maybe with stress, anxiety, because I think that might have made a difference, but I don't guess we'll know with a lot of them.
Yeah, probably not. Well, we are at the hour, Tressa and Phillip, so let's take a little break. I think before the show I promised a little bit of Bob Marley, and I just have to find one here. I'm going to put about a 7-minute song in or so, or maybe a couple of songs that add up to about 7 minutes. Just got to find my Marley here.
You just got to get some Dolly there too.
Yeah. Well, I've got a good one here, so we'll take a little break here, everyone, and be back in a few minutes. All right, welcome back after the break there, everyone, to Wednesday Night's Cancel the Cabal on peoplesInternetRadio.com, and I'm on PSN Radio out of Miami, thanks to Angela Spino. We are going to talk about this hour. We're going to talk about a lot of things, but I think the first thing we're going to concentrate on is the your book on short stories, Tressa.
Well, I've actually got two. I've got the Captain Creepy's book of short stories, and we're going to have a release date on that. Hopefully Friday. I'll be announcing that. And once this book is out, I have another book with just me, a book of short stories I'm going to release called Tales from the Grave. And these are stories I've been working on for 15 years and just never did anything with them. And I finally got all these stories together, and I want to finally publish them and get them out there. My prized possession in my book of short stories is Rachel's Window. That one's one of my my favorite stories out of all of them. That'll be in that one.
Okay. I forgot to mention, after the break there, we have Tressa Graves, Queen of Darkness, TressaGraves.com. I put her site in the radio chat for anybody who wants to go check out her books. She has many of them.
And we have a free preview, in case people didn't know, on the Sawgrass Footpath, and there's a YouTube clip for The Lady in the Backyard with Justin, Phil's son, doing the audiobook on that. And then if you go to the Captain Creepy link, we've got all the book trailers up there and all the information on the different writers that are going to be in this, and all those book trailers are up there. They can go on there and watch those as well.
Very good. Well, let's get into the other short stories that you want to talk about.
Well, I haven't got all the stories together yet, but it's something I'm excited about. Like I said, there's probably going to be about 10 to 15 short stories in this one once it comes out. I'm hoping to have a sample of the cover of the book within the next few weeks up. And as soon as I do, people know it, because I'm all over the place promoting myself. I do that pretty good.
Yeah. How short are these stories going to be, do you think?
Within 10 to 15,000 words, each of them.
Okay, so that's only about maybe 20 pages then?
Yeah, somewhere around there. And the same thing with the Captain Creepy book of short stories, which I should probably tell people a little bit more about that, because we're going to have a release date Friday. And the four writers I have Christian Simmons, which he does The Rusty Gate, and I gave him an extra spot. He's doing an extra story in the book, Soul of a Serial Killer. And those are his two stories. And then we have Jason Gaylor. He's got a number of books out himself. I've got a link up on my website, and he is doing Road to Ruin. That's the name of his story. Then we have Sean Davis. His story's in there. And we have Steve Island. Steve Island is Meet the Creepers, which will be spelled MEAT.
That's an odd little pun there.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, I will be releasing Sean's book trailer tomorrow on Facebook, Twitter. It'll be all over the place. And I have to give a shout out to someone who is making all this possible. Phil is one of them, because Phil's my video guy. Phil does more than just videos for me, though. Phil's been on me with book signings and everything. But I also brought someone else on as far as the Captain Creepy goes, and his name's Troy Duncan, and he's a character. He's originally from Ohio, but he's living in Australia right now. Oh, Iowa. He's originally from Iowa, but living in Australia now. So all the book trailers that you see, I send the short stories to Troy, and Troy goes out and he does the book trailers for these.
Well, I was going to mention Phil just here in a minute, but you already did just give him a short mention about the video work he does. Phil has Assenmacher Productions.
That is correct.
Right, Phil?
Yes. Yes, it's my own production company, and I have been filming a TV show called Creep Theater, and it's available on the website. We have Facebook Creep Theater. Just look up there, and you'll be able to see on YouTube we have full episodes, and we have about 500 fans from 20 countries around the world.
You just have Facebook links, or do you actually have a website or anything? Or?
Well, the website is my Assenmacher Productions website on YouTube, and it has my stuff from Tressa. It has my Creep Theater stuff, and it also has about 15 hours of music videos. That's what I specialized in. Everything from blues to classical, orchestra, and I even have a song on there from Justin, who did the book, The Lady in the Backyard, a song that he did when he was in high school, which was pretty impressive since he's an Asperger's child.
Okay. Well, I just brought...
and I wanted to say something else about Phil. Anyone who goes on my website, the main page, we've got a book trailer. And that was the first book trailer I ever had done. Phil put that together. That's his own music and everything. And so that's some of Phil's work on the website as well for the Sawgrass Footpath.
Ah, brilliant stuff. Yeah, I guess I didn't even see the video there until I just moved my mouse over the icon there.
I had it where it would play as soon as people went into the website, but now we're expanding the website so much. If I have all the videos playing, you won't be able to hear anything. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have to say, Phil, he is my right-hand man, and when I go back out on a book tour, I want to take him with me. I want to kidnap him and take him out with me on the road when I go.
Yeah. I love being a barker.
How did you actually learn to do all this then, Phil?
Barker I used to do at the Michigan Renaissance Festival. Been there since their third year. I don't know what year they're in now, 30, 40?
No, I mean all of the all the video editing and all that.
Video editing. Started off with recording. I started recording music back in the early 70s when I was just a teenager, and then when I started becoming a musician, I was a musician in local Detroit with a group called The Jury and Made in Japan, and we used to record our sessions, and we'd also start taking computers and putting monitors on the stage with the name of our band being flashed up and stuff and different graphics. I was programming graphics since 1976 with the old Commodore 64 and the old
oh goodness. Oh goodness. Yeah.
And so it's been years and years. I've gone through schools. I've done filming. I've worked in movies. Done theater. I've recorded orchestras, live events of orchestras. Just a hobby that I've decided to make my own.
Yeah. Well, I've only been doing this for about 30 months myself. I've kind of self-taught I taught myself how to do all this video editing, but I just do simple things, just a fade, and I cut the music out because it's copywritten music that I play during the shows and that, and YouTube and the artists don't seem to like it when they don't get paid.
That's true.
And so I got to cut that stuff out. And
I was going to tell you something else about Phil. Phil has stuck by me because when I first went out to start doing book signings, I decided I'm not really a bookstore kind of girl. So when I started going out and doing book signings, I went to pubs and stuff. And I had people saying, oh, that is just like retarded. Why does a writer want to go to a pub to do book signings? And after the second or third signing that I went out to, I was announcing I had Bud Light going out and making posters for me and taking Bud Light girls out with me. Yeah, so that turned out pretty good, taking that kind of chance to do that.
Now all these authors are asking her, how do you get so much publication out there?
Yeah, that's a trade secret.
Yeah.
But yeah, Phil stuck by me when I did all this, and then I went to haunted houses, and did that because my work is fun. I like doing what I do, so why not when I go out on the road take the fun with me? And that's what I did. And it's weird because I called to like do book schedulings and stuff. We'd call these pubs, and they'd say, "You do know we're a pub, a bar, right?" And I said, yeah, that's why I'm calling you. and after they get over the initial shock, they're like, yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool. We've never had anything like that before. So it ended up working out good. And I'll continue doing that. I like doing it. It's fun.
Yeah. Phillip, I need to ask you one thing. What first got you interested in even reading these type of stories and stuff like that?
Oh, geez. Let's see. Oh, here it is. I grew up with the Ghoul over in Toledo, Parma, Ohio. And so I grew up, and his name was Ron Swede. He was a classic horror TV show personality in the Detroit area. And when I was living in Jackson, I had a neighbor who I met in the parking lot, who I recognized on his TV show. He had a TV show called The Ron and John Show. And he also was on this show called Creek Theater. And I was taking out the garbage, and I met him down in the parking lot, and I said, hey, if you need anybody help with editing or graphics on your show. And he said, my cameraman just quit this summer. And so for the last 12 years, I've been taking the garbage out of their show, editing and bleeping a lot of stuff. And that's how I got into the business. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned a haunted house, Phillip, and Tressa. I have around my area. They've, I think. Well, I just looked it up actually while you were talking. They've been around since 1974, the Niles Haunted House, and I think it draws somewhere on an average of like 150,000 people, between 125 and 150,000. They actually, they're probably getting all the things ready right now. They are probably going to be opening it in the 2 to 3 weeks from now, and they let it run all the way up into November when it starts getting a little bit too cold and the snow starts flying. We get a lot of snow off the lake here, a lot of lake effect. But
yeah, Tressa's been in the cold before. We were at which one? The creek. We had to sit by a bonfire out in the middle of the parking lot to keep warm.
Oh, and I did a photo shoot. What was the temperature that day? And I was up in shorts. And I'm a Southern girl from Florida, up in Michigan, doing a photo shoot in shorts.
Yeah, I was doing a photo shoot for her, and I would wrap her up in a blanket, and then we'd go out to a wonderful cemetery, Civil War cemetery, and we would take shots there. She would take off the blanket, go pose. I'd take a couple of shots, and she'd wiggle back to the blanket.
It was an experience.
Yeah. There, I know that they had one man from at least 25 to 30 years. He would play the character of Beetlejuice. A lot of people in America will recognize that movie from a long time ago. But he would dress up like the Beetlejuice character, and he would have a chainsaw that didn't actually have a chain on it. He would fire it up and chase people around, scare the pants off of the girls. But
that's something that they do down in Florida at a Universal Studios, Orlando. I would go there every Thursday. I'd drive from Tampa to Universal to go for the Halloween Horror Nights, and they get these knee pads on, and they start scraping across the floor and crank up that chainsaw, and that's always fun.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah, I've been going to my local one here for, I don't know, at least 30 years now. I just actually turned 51, so I started going there when I I'm sorry?
Happy birthday, I missed it.
It was back in April.
Oh, okay.
But thank you anyways, though. Yeah, it's always fun to go to these things and let off a little bit of steam.
Yeah.
Get the pants scared off of you.
And that's what. Speaking of getting scared, we were talking earlier about the ending of my books. Phil was talking about how they hit you in the back of the head.
Uh-huh.
And I'll have to say, out of everything I've written, this Captain Creepy's Candy Van is probably one that is going to knock people clean out of their chairs on this one. I didn't even know how this was going to end until it did.
You didn't,
But this is an ending that I think people are going to enjoy.
Didn't have a clue how you was going to end it, huh?
No,
I think that's what she does with most of her books, so that makes it really interesting to read because she doesn't know what it's going to end. Like, how are you supposed to guess?
I just sit down and take it. I always tell everyone, and other writers understand this, I say I sit down and I let my characters tell the story to me. And as they're telling me the story, I write it out. If I try to do the story, I'm pushing it. It may sound weird, but maybe other writers understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. I believe a lot of writers, a lot of authors, when they first have an idea for a book, they will they will think of a title and they will start thinking of plot lines and subjects that they want to cover. Do you do anything like that, or?
I can never come up with the title.
No?
I think Phil knows that. I've been round and round with titles. I can't do that. I usually do the story, and then I sit and I start asking people I trust that I know is not going to let anything out on the story. Usually Phil, I'll call him and bug him and say, hey, I need help with this. This is what it's about. And coming up with the title is not easy for me to do. That's really the hardest part of writing a book.
Yeah. How long have you been working with Phil then?
2 years.
Yeah.
How long?
About 2 years.
2?
Just about 2 years.
Okay, 2.
Yeah. And like I said, we met on Facebook, and Phil did an interview with me similar to like what we're doing right now, and that's up on TressaGraves.com if anyone wants to go in and see that too. I've got an interview section, which we'll put this up there as well when we're done. But Phil did an interview with me, and that's how it all started.
That was an interesting interview because we Skyped it, and the Skype wasn't very clear. So what I did was I took a picture, one of her promo pictures, and I animated the face to what she was saying. So when you look at the interview, you're seeing a picture of her on a bed, a very sensuous picture, and she's talking to you, and it takes a while before you realize that's not her. That's
It's a photo.
That's a photo.
Yeah, I had never seen anything like that until Phil had done it. And that reminds me of another thing with this Captain Creepy's book of short stories is I've told everyone that we're going to release this in a unique way. And what I'm doing is I'm releasing these book trailers, they're teaser trailers, to get everyone sucked in, so to speak, to get them interested in the story. And then we're going to release the book. Like I said, I'll have a release date Friday. And we're going to release DVD features. And this is going to be something extra that people can get. And it's going to be behind the scenes of the Captain Creepy crew, which would be Phil, Troy, and all the other writers. And there'll be bloopers in it. If people knew behind the scenes some of the stuff we did, it makes its own... we're having a blast, and we're wanting to put this out for everyone else to see. We're going to have making of the videos and a little bit of everything. It's going to be kind of like a movie with DVD features. But it's going to be for a book.
For a book instead of for a movie.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting, yeah.
I'm the oddball. I'm always trying to find something different. I'm always going in the... If people are going one way, I turn and go the other way. I've always been that way. I'm the loner, so...
They zig and you zag, huh?
Huh?
They zig and you zag.
Yep, pretty much.
Well, I'm quite the oddball myself, too. Always have been.
I like being the oddball. I think the oddballs help me with what I do.
Yeah.
Helps me be more creative. I was always that kid in school that got picked on. I had one friend in school, and everyone picked on me in school. I was the ugly duckling. They called me Woody Woodpecker. So, yeah, it was pretty bad. I had big buck teeth, real orange hair.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
And that's why after school I'd go home and just plug in my Dolly Parton and sit down, and that was my best friend.
Yeah. I think you might have had one more friend than I had, Tressa, actually, so...
Well, I didn't have friends until I hit junior high, and then after that summer break and I went back to junior high, I started looking like a girl.
Yeah.
And that's when all the guys that were picking on me started, wanting to talk to me, and I was like, no, Woody's not interested. So I kind of got the last laugh on that one.
Yeah. Speaking of Dolly again there, Tressa, have you always been a fan of country music or just... music in general, or just a certain artist, or what?
I like all music, but when it comes down to it, Dolly Parton is played 24/7 here. I constantly playing Dolly Parton. Just went to go see her again. She came in concert and here in Knoxville area, and went to go see her and bought me a pink cowgirl hat that says Dolly on it. Got my picture taken with it, and yeah, so she's basically played 24/7 in the house. I have a cockatiel, and the cockatiel loves Dolly. You put Dolly in, she starts dancing. She's so used to it. But I listen to all kinds of music. My favorite probably would be country music, though. Because country music tells a story. Well, it's always a story.
Yeah, you happen to mention that Dolly's music is a little bit dark. Is most of her music that way, or...
A lot of her music is. She did a song in the 60s called The Bridge, and it's about her lover leaving her, and she's describing how they got together and everything. And then at the end of the song, she says, and this is where I'll end it, she's talking about the bridge, and the song just quits because she jumps off the bridge. And there's another one called Me and Little Andy. A lot of people probably a little bit familiar with that song. It's about a little girl that finds, supposed to be Dolly, and she takes the little girl and her dog in, and they end up dying in their sleep. And she does, she's done witch songs, and yeah, so she does a lot of dark stuff.
It's hill bluegrass, and it's folk tales, country folk tales, or as us rednecks would say, hillbilly music, and proud to be. I'm a northern hillbilly myself.
Yeah, I am too. most of my relatives are redneck hillbillies, so from Missouri and Arkansas and all that down there. But why do you think, Tressa? Why do you think country music is sort of dark and macabre, if you will?
because I think it tells real life. I think a lot of the stories are about kind of like what I like to write about, real life. And I think that's what country music is, about cheating, stealing, murders, going to jail. I mean, and I think that's why people relate to country music, because it's kind of truthful music. And that's why I like it, because I like a story with my music.
Well, you probably have heard the old joke about country music, though, right, Tressa?
Which one?
If you back in the 70s and 80s, in that we used to play rock and roll, the 45s, we used to turn them backwards and listen to a satanic message. But if you do that to a country song, you get your pickup back, and your dog comes back to you, and your wife comes back to you, and and your grandma comes back to life. And
I like that. I never heard that.
You never heard that joke?
No, that may be in a book soon. I like that. Yeah, I mean, it's like people always pick, and they're like, why do you listen to country music? It's always about someone cheating or something. And I say, that's why I listen to it. I want to know what happens. There's a song out that's not that recent, but it's called Redneck Crazy. And I don't know if Phil's ever heard that, or you. It's about the guy, his girlfriend or wife ends up leaving him, and he stalks her. He's sitting outside her house, and he's literally stalking her.
Well,
and I'm like,
that is real life, isn't it?
yeah, that is real life. He's talking about, he's redneck crazy, got his truck, and yeah, real life.
Yeah, I just actually I play on a pool league, and last night was one of my league nights, Tressa, and I met a young woman that was on the opposing team. She had kind of fled back up to this town here. She lives up here in this area, and she was down in Georgia, down in Macon, and yeah, she had to flee back up here to her hometown to get out of a bad marriage.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I have to say, rednecks have tempers. We got tempers, especially a redheaded redneck.
Well, it doesn't. I found out you don't have to be redneck, just redheaded. I don't know.
Just redheaded.
You got fire in you, don't you?
Yeah.
The gingers.
Huh?
It's gingers.
It's gingers. But I just hope that people look at this Captain Creepy book of short stories and take it, and know that I am doing something different with this, with the DVD features. And this is something I'm really excited about, because I'm not sure if this has ever been done before.
Yeah.
DVD features released with a book.
That should be awesome there.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm excited.
Well, Tressa, Phillip did make a one more statement earlier on my video chat room. He said 1% of the general public shows psychopathic tendencies, and 25% of male inmates. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah, and everyone, and even Richard Ramirez said this in an interview. I don't remember exactly what the guy had asked him, something about Richard being evil, and Richard said in his interview, Richard Ramirez, he says, we are all evil, and everyone is capable, whether they want to believe it or not, of doing what some of these serial killers do. You get mad enough, you're capable of doing just about anything. If someone hurts your family or whatever, so everyone's capable of doing something they wouldn't be very proud of, but everyone's capable of doing it. Yeah. So Phil says, yeah.
Well, I know that there's a startling statistic out there, just in America alone. I think it's a little over 7 out of 10 inmates, whether it be male or female, are in prison for nonviolent crimes. That is for drug-related crimes, whether that's I don't know, theft or whatever, or drug dealing or drug possession.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people who do drugs, they end up going to prison or jail, not for the drugs, for stealing to get the drugs.
Yeah.
And So that happens.
Yeah, it does. But a lot of countries have actually made drug abuse a treatable disease and not a crime. They don't place a lot of people in prisons for drug abuse. They treat it as a disorder or a disease.
Yeah, well, and there's usually a reason why people turn to drugs. The same thing with alcohol. There's something that turns people to this to either help them forget or cope or whatever it is. And so I think that's why a lot of people end up going and doing drugs. So I think it should be not, I think they should get help if someone gets arrested for crack cocaine or, whatever they're doing. I think that they should get some kind of treatment instead of being thrown in prison or jail. Because as soon as they get out, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to go out and repeat it. They're going to do it again.
Well, they don't even really have to get out anymore nowadays, Tressa, because drugs can get into any prison that they want to get into.
Yep, that's true.
Did you see the somebody was on YouTube, one of those little channels there? They were showing a picture of a reporter outside of a prison, and somebody was flying a drone with a package of drugs in over the wall and dropped the drugs into the prison. And they had caught it on camera because they were doing an interview about a prison.
Yeah, well, that's just one single particular case, but drones haven't been around for a long, long time, though, Phillip. But, drugs get into a prison because they are people on the inside let them in. That's the only reason, whether it's inmates or staff or whatnot.
Or drugs, even contractors, yes.
Yeah.
And what's sad is some people who I've heard people say, I wasn't a criminal until I went to prison, and when going to prison, it taught them how to be a swindler and do whatever they needed to do to survive, in prison, and same thing with drugs. I've heard people say, I'd never tried drugs till I went to prison, and then they come out of the prison, they're addicted to drugs.
Yeah.
But and back in there.
But we're chasing a different rabbit now, though, Tressa. Let's get back to the original rabbit. Let's get back to your short stories.
Well, like I said, I just hope that everyone, will take this Captain Creepy's book of short stories, and I hope we do very well. And I hope people who are listening, they at least go to the website and check out some of the book trailers that we've done. And I may be releasing little samples in the next week or so on a few of the stories of what some of the writers have done. And take it from there and see what happens once this release date comes out. I'm hoping to be out on the road and take Captain Creepy's book of short stories out and promote that as well as the Sawgrass.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to be back out on the road real soon, because that's when I do the best, is when I'm out interacting with the public. People like to come and meet you and purchase the book and, get it signed and everything. But I'm also hoping for the Tales from the Grave to be out by October.
Uh-huh.
So that's what I'm really excited on, too. And then I'm going to start on a full-length novel, a new one that I'm working on. It's been on the back burner. This novel that I have on the back burner, which will be my next book coming out, I started that book probably about 12 years ago, 13.
Okay, that's been a while.
Yeah, a lot of my stuff has been a while. I'll sit and I'll work on a story, and if it doesn't come to me, I'll put it on the back burner and start something new, because I want it to be able to flow and come natural to me. I don't have to push it.
Yeah, I just happened to mention Patrick in the radio chat there said, get into politics. There's where the real crooks are.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
But sound like Sam seconded that, huh?
Yeah. Oh, you heard that?
Yes, I did.
He's always got his 2 cents in. Him kind of clash on politics.
Yeah.
And religion, he'll tell you.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm a vegetarian. He eats meat. I get mad, and that's about it.
Do you have any idea how many followers you have on social media or just around the world?
I don't. I know I've sold in Australia. I've sold in Germany. I've sold in the UK. Off the top of my head, that's the only places I can think of right now. But as far as followers go, I get tons of new people coming in every day because I got Twitter. I just signed up for Instagram, and that's taken off. Instagram's been really good for me. I've got, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I've got my website. And trying to think of LinkedIn. LinkedIn's been
LinkedIn,
very.
yeah.
That's where I met you at. Was on
Yes,
LinkedIn.
it was.
So LinkedIn's been great for me.
LinkedIn is people don't even realize that, but LinkedIn is just huge all over the world.
Yeah.
I think it's like number 2 now.
Yeah, and I've got a big following on LinkedIn as well. And like I said, I haven't been keeping track. Me and Sam this morning, I have to turn my phone off at night because if I don't, I won't be able to sleep because Skype calls come through my phone all night.
Oh, yes.
And, messages try to come through, so I turn my phone off at night. When I wake up in the morning and I turn it back on, that phone will go off 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yes, I know the feeling all too. I don't actually turn my phone off. I have everything runs through my iPhone 6 also. I got the Skype and Facebook and Twitter, just about everything. But I actually put my my headphone jack into it so it doesn't do all them types of things. I just can't hear it.
I learned something new tonight. I can do that.
Yeah.
I can do that. I never thought of that.
Yep, absolutely. Well,
and I wanted to say I'm hoping on working with Phil on this Tales from the, as far as my new novel goes.
Tales from the Grave.
Yeah, I'm hoping to work with him and Troy to get out more book trailers and stuff on this.
Okay, yeah.
We'll probably be doing the same thing that we're doing with Captain Creepy. I'll think of some new way to do a few things, but this will probably be something people will be seeing out of me a lot now.
Right.
As far as the trailers and stuff.
Yeah. Well, of course, you also have a YouTube channel. How does somebody find that?
I don't know the link to my YouTube channel offhand, but it is on my website. And I've also posted it on Facebook and stuff.
Okay.
The best way for people to get a hold of me, if you Google Tressa Graves, I pop up all over the place.
Yeah, I did.
So I'm doing good, right?
Yes.
But yeah, anyone wants to know any information on me, everything is on TressaGraves.com. I'm always updating that. Every time we do a new book trailer, it goes up there. And, all my social media is on there so people can connect with me. It's really easy to find me, find out what I'm doing. And my YouTube channel is on there.
Yeah. I was just trying to think. I've got at least 10 pages that come up when I type in my Google search the name of my show, but
that's always a good thing.
Yeah.
That's always a good thing.
Yep.
And I like it because I've been to Dick's Last Resort, and they come in and they play with me all the time. I am known as a Dick's All-Star.
What is that, anyways? Dick's.
Dick's Last Resort it's a restaurant. They've got them all over the U.S. They've almost got them in every single state. But what it is it's a restaurant you go to, and they insult you the whole time you're there.
Oh, is that right?
They insult you, and they make these hats, and they put them on your head, and they write nasty things about people on it. I mean, it's not really a place to take your kid if they can read. But it's perfect for me. I've been to the one in Orlando. I've been to the one in Gatlinburg. I've been invited to go to Sevierville, the Dicks in Sevierville. That's how popular they are. There's one in Sevierville and one in Gatlinburg, which isn't that far apart.
There's also one in Chicago.
Yeah, there's
there?
one
Okay.
in Chicago.
So are they naughty insults or just vulgar?
Naughty and crude.
Crude, yeah.
Yeah. The first time I went in Dick's, I was there to do a book signing. I stood there for 45 minutes with my mouth open going,
WTF, huh?
I saw. And And after that first time, I kept going back. I've been to Dixon Gatlinburg a couple times, and when I went down to Florida, Tampa area, I went out to Orlando and went there and had a blast. I can't wait to get back out just to go to Dick's. I have fun there.
Kind of a spin-off of the insult comic thing, I'll bet, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah, they are great at their job. They do a really good job, and everyone that works there has been real welcoming. I get along with just about everybody, so that's a good thing. And Bud Light went out to Dick's and did a huge banner for me. They had it hanging from the ceiling. I've got it hanging in my house now, and I'm going to get me a little Tressa room with all my stuff, like my banners that I retire and all that stuff. And I get gifts from fan base when I go out and stuff. I bring all that home, so I want to get me a little shrine going.
That ought to be pretty cool.
Yeah. It's nice. It's been an experience. I've loved what I've done so far.
Yeah.
You know, going out and doing the places I've done with book signings and meeting the people, and everyone's been real nice.
Patrick seems to be on the bash government insult tonight. He's saying, insult. You sound like our government. They insult us every day. But,
well, that would be Dick's then.
Yeah.
That would be Dick's.
I was trying to think of the one old comedian that made his whole entire career off of insulting people. I know you probably...
Dangerfield?
No, not so much Dangerfield, but the other one. Crite. Well, it doesn't matter. What do you have coming up besides working with Tressa, Phillip? What else are you doing?
I'm working with my brother. We're going to be doing a graphic movie in a graphic novel format. My brother is a railroad worker, and in his spare time, he supports my production company and gives me little projects to work on. And we're working on a couple of movie ideas. One having to do with a scarecrow, a haunted scarecrow, and a demon killer, and another one doing with and Civil War era type movie, and we hope to produce it ourselves and maybe get ourselves back to Sundance. We were invited to Sundance with Drew Glick from New York with his movie that we worked with him on, and we'd like to get back to Sundance sometime.
Now, the Civil War you're talking about, that's what me and you were working on together, or?
Yes, that's the one that you're helping out with the screenplay. You're doing the screenplay for.
Which I'm having a blast with. We can't say too much about that because I had to sign a little paper that said keep my mouth shut on that one until it was ready. People have to tell me because I blurt out stuff. But this is going to be a really big project that I'm working with Phil on. I've already got one of the stories done. It's going to be a collection of, what is it, like 6 or 7 stories, Phil?
Yeah, I think 6 or 7 to begin with, and then in a year or so we might have another 6 or 7.
Yeah. So, and this has been in the making for a while. I had a lot of different projects I had to finish up before I could get started on it, and I did one of the stories and had to quit and then go back and finish Captain Creepy and the Tales from the Grave, but I'm hoping to be on this full time real soon.
That's
and
very
I
good.
can work with Phil again.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah. And you're going to get to meet him again.
Yes, I can't wait. Like I said, I'm making that special trip next month to go up there and hang out with Phil for a little bit. So I can't wait.
Is that going to be during a weekday or on the weekend?
It'll probably be during the week, a weekday maybe. I'm not sure yet. We're going up to Wisconsin. Sam's family lives up there, so we're going to be going up there to visit. And on our way back, we're going to cut over and go over to Michigan, which I'm excited.
Well, you're going to go right by my house.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Maybe I get a chance to meet you face to face when I go there.
Absolutely, yeah.
I look forward to that.
And it's not that far of a drive over there to where you're going to end up being, and I could probably, I don't know, drive over there with you and spend a few hours or half a day or something.
Oh,
That
that'd
would
be
be terrific. I would enjoy that a lot.
yeah.
What-
And then I could take Phil to my favorite restaurant. I know he's probably sick of eating Subway, but I'm a vegetarian. And that's like all I eat the whole time I was up in Michigan was Subway.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
We'll get my brother Seamus to meet us.
Oh yeah, he could meet Seamus. That'd be great.
What part of Wisconsin is your family from then, Phil?
My family, no, it's Sam's family is from Madison, isn't he?
Yeah, Madison. I spent some time up in Wisconsin, and people weren't nice to me at all. They would come by and see my Tennessee license plate and say, "Go back to the South, you stupid hick." And people stare at me weird when I'm there, and I do not get a warm welcome at all when I go there. So I try to stay out of there as much as I can because of that. People don't like me in Wisconsin for some reason.
Yeah, but you get back at them in your stories.
Oh, yeah, I do get back with it. And that's something in Captain Creepy everyone to see, and in the Sawgrass Footpath.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit of Wisconsin in both those.
That's
She
wild.
likes Wisconsin like we like Ohio over here in Ann Arbor.
Yeah. Ohio State fan, are you, Phillip?
Not quite. Not quite.
Up there for, I guess it was about 8-9 months or so, and I thought I was going to die. I couldn't wear high heels. It was always cold. Had to wear shoes with socks. Where's the fun in that?
I thought you were going to say that you had to wear shoes.
And you know what? I took Sam down to Florida for the first time, and I said, you know, in Florida, it's not unusual to see a man in a business suit and flip-flops. That's actually stylish down there, so. And I went back down to Florida for the first time after 11 years. And I've already decided I'm moving back to Tampa. I want to be down there by the first of, I want to hopefully be there by the first of the year.
Okay, yeah.
I missed it. I missed the gators. I went out there and saw the gators and everything in the swamp, and that's where I wrote most of my work at, was in Florida, and now I'm just now starting to publish it. Like Sawgrass, I wrote that in Florida, you know, and this Tales from the Grave, just about every story in there was written in Florida. It's inspiring.
Tales from the Grave. Is that a little bit of a spin off of Tales from the Crypt?
No, I didn't even think about that when I did it. I just thought about my last name, and I thought, sounds spooky enough, I'll just do that. Although I did watch Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah.
I like that show, but yeah, I didn't really think about that when I did it.
The author of Tales from the Crypt, Al Feldstein, we have a wonderful interview, a detailed interview with him about 2 years before he died on our web page and over at Creek Theater on my YouTube account. And he talked about how the Tales from the Crypt movies he never got any royalties for, and we proved him that he was owed them.
He didn't.
He didn't, but he was owed them.
Oh boy. Well, that doesn't really sound unfamiliar, you know.
But that's Tales of Darkness. You should tell them about your favorite short story in there, Rachel's.
Rachel's Window.
Yeah, that's spooky.
Did you read that one already?
Yes, I did.
Oh,
That was
did
one of the
you?
first ones you gave to me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is the one that is my favorite story. I would say up on Captain Creepy, this is my favorite story I've ever done. This story here, you go into another dimension, which is really cool. And I always tease people. I go back and I read and I go, what was I drinking that night? Because that one was a very good story that I did. I think people are going to like that. It gives a different little spin off on the true crime stuff. It deals with another witch. I like the witches. I like writing about witches and stuff. And I've actually got 2 stories on witches in Tales from the Grave that will be out. So there'll be 2 witch stories in that one.
Well, I'm going to let the two of you, or either of you, whichever one you would like, to take 2 or 3 minutes and say anything that you'd like to say.
I'll let Phil take over if he wants to. He's the main guy. He's the one who's been out with me doing a lot of stuff, and let people know from Phil's point of view what goes on.
You're going to put him on the spot. Look at that. He's sweating.
Oh, yeah.
He's sweating already.
That's not good. Well, Tressa has just been a wonder. We met on her way. She made a special detour after we did our Skype interview. She liked it so much that she had Sam drive over to Ann Arbor to see us, and she's visited Michigan quite a few times afterwards. We went to the Corpse Barn, which was a wonderful haunt, and a couple of other ones in the Jackson area. Had a wonderful time each time. The people, she was just amazed that the people in Michigan are so different from the people in Wisconsin. People in Michigan we don't care where you're from. You're good.
That's right.
You're good as long as you're here.
That's right.
We're glad that you're here to visit us. I've had Tressa on Creep Theater. We promote her book on there, even though it's a public access. We can still do interviews with her. We can't do commercials for her, but we can do interviews for her. We can tell everybody what's going on.
And Creep is also a sponsor of mine, so if anyone needs to find their link, they can go onto my sponsor link, and they can find Creep Theater on there too.
Yeah, and she's these new artists that she's met for Captain Creepy are just fantastic people. I'm surprised. Steve Gerhardt, he has 10 books out, and was it Christian? Who's the one with the serial killer books? Oh,
He's never been published before, and has talent like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, and the guy, and they're fun. They're fun to talk to. They're fun to see their videos. I'm going to have a real good time collecting all the little videos that they've shot and sent to each other. I keep getting messages up. Oh, Troy sent you another video, and it's something way off the ball. It's going to make a great DVD to go with the book. And then this other book, the Tales from the Grave, that's going to be really nice. You have got so many things on your plate, Tressa. It's just wonderful from where you started from when I first met you, and we were just, what do I do about getting my books out there for people to do? And we figured it out on our own. And every day you get a new sponsor. You get people calling you up and saying, will you come over here and see us? Will you do an interview with us? And it's just wonderful. It's been rolling and rolling. It's just like a snowball going downhill. It's just getting bigger and bigger. It's wonderful.
Things have really taken off for me, and it's been great. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, like Phil said. Well, and with people like Phil behind me and stuff, I've got all the support I need, and it just gives me that more of a drive to do what I want to do.
Well, Tressa and Phil, I just actually thought of something. Last year, I helped coordinate a book signing, actually 2 book signings and 2 presentations for an author that's from this area here, from the Niles area. She was actually the mistress of Lee Harvey Oswald about the last year of his life, and she's got like 3 or 4 books out, and we did 2 signings and 2 presentations, and I was wondering if I could coordinate with the Niles Haunted House if they could get something going with you.
Oh, I would love that.
I'm all for it.
Oh, I can't wait now. I love Michigan. I want an excuse to go back.
Yeah. Well, you could probably at the least, if the haunted house would go for it, you could probably at least meet, I don't know, 2,000 to 3,000 people inside of a 3-4 hour period.
That would be great. I love being out and being around the public and stuff, so I'm all open for that. I would love to.
Okay.
Thank.
Well, you're very welcome. I'm going to ask you if you can stay on the Skype there for just a couple minutes after I go ahead and sign off, and then we'll talk for just a short time.
That'd be great. I can do that.
Okay. Well, everyone, that's the end of my show here. I'm going to put a short song on to end, and then I'll put another Bob Marley song on, if I can find one. Yeah, I got a good one. One Love.
One love.
Yeah. But everyone, I will see you Sunday on my show after Vin. So thanks for coming out, everyone. Staying up late over there in Ireland and Scotland. It's 2 a.m. over there, in case you didn't know, Tressa and Phillip.
Wow.
But yeah, it's quite late over there, and people are still listening.
Good. Well, I want to thank everyone for tuning in and listening, and I hope they go check me out and end up falling in love with me.
Yeah. or at least buying 2 or 3 books anyways.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So everyone, I'll see you Sunday. I'm Stephen Roberts. This has been Cancel the Cabal. Good night, everyone.